This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, your media police post. Brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 22nd of June 2020, and I am 2J.
I'm Tom.
And I am DM. Let's take a look at today's headlines. On the Daily Nation, RUTO's loss, Raila's gain. The Standard, Uhuru and Raila's parliament fixers. And finally, The Star, Uhuru moves to reward new allies. But I think the headlines of the day have been overtaken because they were all speculating on the parliamentary group meeting that the president convened today at the KICC, which began at 9 a.m. And at that time, all the papers had gone to print and had been distributed. So therefore, perhaps we can speak on the meeting itself.
Absolutely.
What did you think?
Actually, what happened was today, Aden Duale was purged, was rushed out of town and as majority leader, and now the new majority leader is Amos Kimunya, and the coalition secretary is Aden Kainan. I think that's his name. But wow, this was precedent making by Uhuru Kenyatta. First PG meeting that happened 2 weeks ago, it took about 3 weeks ago. It was about 28 minutes. This one was exactly 22 minutes.
And I think what's interesting, we don't exactly know what took place in the meeting word for word, but Dennis Itumbi was so grateful as to give us a transcript of what transpired. You can find it on Facebook. And some interesting things I think that came out of that transcript he gave us is that twice the deputy president was asked to speak. I think Rafal Tuju asked him at first, please speak, invite the president up. And all he did was, I think he said he gave a wave and said, I don't want to talk. And then at the end of the meeting again, I think as they were closing, he was then asked again to speak, and he gave like a praying gesture saying like, I'm okay, I have nothing to say.
I'm fine as is.
This guy, if he didn't know what a corner was, he's found it now.
Do you know why he behaved that way? Because William Ruto was attending his political funeral, and let me tell you guys, this is the last that we are seeing politically, I think, suspect of him being at such high position, because what is coming next, maybe DM, we want to speak about that, will be politically fatal for him. And where we are heading right now is Uhuru Kenyatta will probably be the last executive president Kenya will have.
So he's not going to extend his term because presidency, as we know it, is not going to exist.
Yes.
So does that also follow then that the deputy president is on a race for a position that will not exist?
William Ruto is running for a position that will not exist, and he thinks 2022 is
what I'm hearing you say to him is that the goal of today's parliamentary group meeting was not the removal of Aden Duale. It was just setting the stage of the coming impeachment of the deputy president. But then again, that is not the end game. The end game is a change in our political structure as we know it, to pave the road for a parliamentary system.
Absolutely.
My view on this parliamentary group meeting, not just of today, of 3 weeks ago, and all the actions that the president has been taking, is this. It's actually long overdue. As a politician in parliament or in Senate, you go in with the knowledge that you are under 3 people. You're under the party leader, you're under the majority leader or the minority leader, depending on which party you're in, and you're also under the whip. And the majority leader's constitutional role is to spearhead the political agenda of the party. The whip has 2 roles. To ensure party discipline and to ensure that you as the politician, as the party member, votes according to the political platform. Not according to your political ideology or your biases, perceptions and wants. And also not according to the will of your constituents. That sounds undemocratic, but it is not, because it is assumed that your constituents vote for you because of your political ideology. ideology. So if you are a politician in a party, in a house, in the Senate or in the National Assembly, but you publicly and continually go against the party's position,
what do you expect?
Ideology, and where you're supposed to be whipped towards, or if you're also the majority leader yourself, but you do not fulfill your constitutional role to spearhead the political agenda of your party in the House, you cannot expect a lollipop from the national party leader. You expect us the sack.
Yes.
So this is I don't know what the Tanga group was expecting the president to do, if not just this. And in my view, it was long overdue.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We have.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want to say something to him?
Yeah, I was going to say these are the small steps. You see, you do a PG1, chase Senate guys. You do a PG2, chase National Assembly people. PG3. Do a PG3, send away the majority leader. The next thing that's coming is a rearranging of the executive. Next thing that's coming is a referendum. The next thing that's coming is a cabinet reshuffle. The next thing that's coming is a parliamentary system. Yeah. So, I mean, for those, and Prof always says the best strategy is the obvious strategy. This thing is happening like clockwork. Where we are going, this small thing, these purges will be made to look like small things, because the big thing is right on its way.
And my only wish right now, I just want to encourage the president to keep up with this steam. I think DM asked this question, I believe, last week. Why didn't the president do this earlier? But I think, he's found that opportune moment. He's found a space and time. Corona gave him the miracle he never knew he needed. And he's really capitalized on it. So
yes, but also speaking of doing this earlier, and also speaking of a cabinet reshuffle that you have mentioned, 2M, do you notice that the president seems to be drawing from the Kibaki era ministers and politicians, and it seems like he's looking for delivery, and it's precisely about timing, I would imagine, because he's at the tail end, and there will be no more presidential position after this, so he's just
people are not asking themselves, why is Uhuru Kenyatta doing, bringing in Kibaki era ministers at this time? You think his time is done? Absolutely not.
Having said that, we do have a three-part criteria that we use to analyze the headlines for you. We ask, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? We have said that all the headlines were topical, or rather they were speculative. They are topical though. So which one was thoughtfully crafted?
Ruto's loss, Raila's gain.
I instantly
sweet,
agree.
Love it.
Yes.
I like that.
So we will toss the other headlines, and the Daily Nation gives us our winning headline. On to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. And just like the headlines, we have a three-part criteria that we use to analyze them for you. We ask, is the cartoon humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And finally, is the cartoon effective or just plain lazy?
Oh, wow. I even... There's this cartoon by Iga. It's a drawing of a Jubilee magnet. And it seems to have snapped up all small parties, yellow, blue, red, green. And I think someone is holding the opposition banner here, saying, is Iga trying to tell us that Kenya has become a one-party state?
Perhaps he is, and the Jubilee but he's also telling us that the Jubilee magnet is strong.
Is strong enough. Right.
Gado, on the other hand, has drawn a sanitizer there with the face or branded Raila Odinga, and it's written RAO with the as the orange, with orange flavor, original instant hand sanitizer. It kills corruption, embezzlement, graft germs. And I think with this he's referring to the impeachment of the Kirinyaga governor Anne Waiguru, and that Uhuru and Raila are faced with the choice.
And I think earlier this year, Raila was accused of sanitizing corrupt governors. That has become his role. And will they sanitize Waiguru? Only time will tell.
But I think he's being satirical. I'm sure Gado does not believe that Raila is the archangel who has all these
powers.
who has all these qualities.
Great cartoon, I like it.
It is a great cartoon.
Fantastic.
Finally, in the star.
What do we have in the star?
It's a butterfly. William RUTO has become a butterfly.
Yeah.
And he's just come out of his cocoon. His cocoon is red in color, correct?
Yeah.
And his butterfly has yellow spots and red spots as well, correct?
It's all yellow,
It's all yellow. And the other cocoons behind there is, I can see Ford Kenya.
Ford Asili, New Ford Kenya, Ford People, Narc Kenya, and Narc. And the caption there is Party Metamorphosis Phenomenon.
It's a phenomenon.
Can you say that 10 times?
Party Metamorphosis Phenomenon.
Again.
No, I will not say the second
Is this cartoon saying that RUTO has emerged from all these cocoons because that is unnatural?
I mean,
or it's showing the metamorphosis in the country, right?
Yes.
That
one
is our history.
Becomes another, becomes
we were just saying last week that this Jubilee Asili business is very reminiscent of Ford Kenya and Ford Asili. Fun fact.
Absolutely.
Ford Kenya of Oginga Odinga and Kijana Wamalwa was originally called Ford Ajip. and Ford Asili was originally called Ford Muthithi.
Yes.
And they were named after the places that they
come from.
So originally Ford was, the headquarters of Ford was in Ajip House
in town.
In Haile Selassie Avenue.
Yeah.
And then when Matiba left with Shikuku and the rest, they went to Westlands.
Muthithi.
So they were called, before they were registered, they were now Ford Ajip and Ford.
Muthithi.
So what is Jubilee Asili? It's Jubilee Kilimani.
Is it Jubilee Ngong Road?
Jubilee Ngong Road. So, what is our winning cartoon? I quite liked Gado's rendition.
I like the Raila one.
I could buy this sanitizer.
I would buy that too
if it was real.
Yeah.
So the standard gives us our winning cartoon.
Absolutely.
Let me talk. Hold on.
So, what is our final thought?
Now, our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled "The Smartest Guys in the Room: The Amazing Rise and Scandalous Fall of Enron" by Bethany McLean and Peter Elkind. Elkind.
Hold on, 2M. You read the book.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to be looking at some of the biggest scams and cons, frauds that have taken place across the world. And today we'll be starting with Enron, which I believe most people should be familiar with. If not, we'll break it down.
Yeah.
So this book was written by 2 senior writers at Fortune magazine. And this book, The Smartest Guys in the Room, is a comprehensive history and analysis of the rise of Enron and its dramatic and catastrophic collapse. So the book is based on hundreds upon hundreds of interviews and details from people's personal calendars, their performance reviews, emails between colleagues, and other documents. And it has actually been called the best book about the Enron debacle to date. There are actually quite a few of them, but I think this one is the most comprehensive one.
Right.
So this failure of Enron in the early 2000s is one of the largest bankruptcies in US history.
Yeah.
This accounting scandal that took place in this company that led to Enron's bankruptcy, which at the time, this company was the 7th largest company in the US.
Yes.
So imagine that's like Safaricom collapsing tomorrow, right?
It's huge.
As well as the dissolution of their accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, which at that time also was one of the top 5 accounting firms in the US.
Yeah.
So this was a huge scandal.
Bad times,
It led to shareholders being wiped out, tens of thousands of employees being left with worthless retirement accounts. So the question here is, how does a respected company make it to the top of the business world only to crumble to this economic tragedy? So just some history. Enron was based out of a merger between 2 pipeline companies. And so this intelligent and ambitious businessman named Kenneth Lay became the CEO in 1985. And so the book kind of looks at the beginning of Enron merging, him becoming the CEO, the collapse of Enron in late 2001, and then the epilogue at the end of the book kind of covers the trials and the criminal charges in the late of October 2006. So the funny thing about Enron, this company was called Enron Oil, but it wasn't producing or selling oil, but simply it was speculating on the prices of oil. Not only that, they were manipulating the facts of their earnings. So Enron was just a middleman in the whole process. They were an intermediary between gas suppliers and gas buyers. So you may actually be surprised to learn that this scandal, which was an accounting scandal, the tactics that Enron was using at this time, they were not technically illegal at the time. In fact, Enron was publicly celebrated for being financial innovators. So shareholders, employees, investment bankers, and accountants all benefited from these tactics that they were using. Yeah. And so at the core of the Enron story is actually the people. It's an array of brilliant, egotistical, and arrogant executives who created a corporate culture that selected raw intelligence and vicious competition and discarded a lot of these social virtues that we, come to expect from corporations. And so at the end of the day, these guys were smart. And this book really paints this fascinating but also compelling picture of not only what Enron did, but the personalities that ran it, and how, at the end of the day, how and where all of this went wrong to this, massive catastrophe.
Yeah.
Very interesting book. I would recommend it.
And it did go really, really wrong, didn't it? By the time Enron was going down, their shareholder value was $60 billion, and one share was worth over $90.
Yes.
Yeah. And it went down to under $1. Life savings down the toilet.
It's terrible.
I think it's 60 cents, I think.
It's something ridiculous.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Now, this is a perfect example of he who pays a piper calls a tune. And you see, the premise at Enron had always been that for as long as Enron concealed its books or concealed or cooked its books, its share value would continue to go up. And one would ask, I mean, if you are in this market, the regulators would be able to sense this, analysts would sense this, bankers would sense this, anybody who's involved within the stock market would be able to sense that something was amiss, but nobody did. And you know why? Because there was conflict of interest between the auditors. Can you imagine? The auditor and Enron. Now, the auditor, Enron's auditor, and I think you mentioned this too, Jay, was
Arthur Andersen.
Yes, was called Arthur Andersen. Now, Arthur Andersen, apart from being the auditor of Enron, was also doing a lot of business with Enron. In fact, in the year 2000, Andersen earned $52 million from their business with Enron, and none of it including auditing business. Second,
or oil.
or oil. Enron also hired their top executives from Arthur Andersen, and they paid them damn well. Now, who in their right mind as an auditor would be able to raise their finger if at all they smelled some wrongdoing on the part of Enron, and they're on the same at the same time they are earning some money, some good money from Enron. Now, third, there was also conflict of interest in the board of Enron. You see, unlike other companies, Enron, the CEO of Enron, used to employ the board of directors. Personally, he selects them personally.
Instead of the other way
personally, you see, what would happen is the board of directors normally would meet in any normal company in order to select this CEO.
You have a vote and whatnot.
Yes, but the CEO would select the board of directors. And the reason he did this is because should the board of directors have smelled something fishy, they would not have raised a finger. And there's nothing much to do as a board of director. Your work is just to see paper, stamp, go home and earn some money.
And receive your allowance.
Yes, but today there's something you spoke about, the toxic culture and toxic nature of Enron, especially between the employees and the employers. But there's something Ken Lay once said to his employees,
the CEO,
that I really caught my mind, and I want to read to you to see if it is normal to you. let me read.
Okay.
He says, and this is in a Q&A session, he says, all right, we are down to questions, and I got a few up here. I would like to know if you are on crack. Crack is a narcotic, is narcotics.
The drug.
Yes.
Cheaper than cocaine.
Yes. So if you're on crack, if you are on crack, that would explain a lot. If not, you may want to start it because it's going to be a long time before we trust you again.
This is a CEO saying that to his employees.
Yes.
That's baffling.
I'll answer your question. No, that is not normal.
It is not. It certainly is not. And there's lessons that we can draw from the Enron catastrophe, the Enron financial catastrophe, especially as investors and potential investors of any company. Number one, do not invest too much on your portfolio to one stock, one stock rather. No matter how good, no matter how big, no matter how innovative the company is. Why? Because the future is extremely unpredictable.
That's true.
For instance, who would have known that airlines would be having no business at this time?
Yes.
Airlines have always been a good, or public airlines have been a good portfolio investment opportunity. Or hotels, for instance, and then you invest in a big chain of hotels, and then Airbnb comes up, and innovation comes up that then plummets the stock. Number 2, employees should be cautious about investing in their employer's company. It is quite tempting to invest in something that you understand intimately.
Yeah.
But if you invest in your employees, in your company, the company that you work for, and something happens, it all goes down the drain, you not only lose your investment portfolio, but you also lose your primary source of income.
Yes.
Number 3, make sure you understand how a company's business works.
Yes.
Most investors at Enron did not understand the sophisticated way in which Enron was trading.
Yes.
But they continued to invest in the stocks because they could see that it is continually going up.
Yeah.
Even Warren Buffett, the guy who has so much experience in investments, has so much experience in reading financial statements, said upon reading the financial statement of Enron, it is baffling. And he said the document is baffling, including the footnotes. And footnotes are where you have the managerial explanations of concepts. And he said, if you cannot understand the footnotes of a financial document, it means that the CEO does not want you to understand.
Yes.
Run.
And that's what they always say, that accountants hide information in footnotes.
But if you go to the footnotes and you find that the information is as clear as mud, it means that there is shady business going on, and you should definitely run in the opposite direction. Finally, and drawing from the title of the book, which is The Smartest Guys in the Room, Enron hired people that it thought were the best in the business. They had Ivy League educations, they were famous consultants, they had so much experience. But ironically, the downfall of the company was directly related to the decisions that this smart guys in the room made. However, it's not just Enron. I think we all have those biases and misconceptions and prejudices that we apply to people who we think are authorities in knowledge or authorities in their field or whatever it is that we are looking at, even in terms of investments. And I'll give a sad example right here in our country. A lot of people will say that if you want your company or your startup to have a seat at the table in whatever industry you're operating in, or to access funding, then you need a white face in your board or in your leadership team, and then that way you can get the things that you want to get. However, this is such a deep fallacy, because you look beyond the things that really count, like integrity, like skill and competence, and we go for the things that are based on bias and misconceptions.
Superficial
and the
things.
Smartest guys in the room are usually not really the smartest guys in the room.
That's true.
Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens on Pang, Free to Air, Star Times, and Go TV. On a day when we had a winning headline from The Nation and a winning cartoon from The Standard, I'd like to leave you with this quote on conmanship. The code of the con is to know just enough about everything so that you can lie about anything. Watch out for the con artists this week. See you tomorrow.
Bless.